Can I get you guys to think of some strategies you think is important when consuming and making media that you are going to bestow upon this documentary?
I think a big thing is you need to remember that not everything is true. Like, people see all these, especially with me for a while, it was like someone says, oh, well, you need to, if you do this, then this will happen, and you need to do this. It's like, that's not, maybe it worked for you, especially with the people saying, I can't really think of one off the top of my head, but like as an example, like, oh, people who wear hats are just totally this and this. People will see that, and I used to be the kind of person where I'd see something like that and it worked. It's like, oh, okay, that makes sense, yeah. Not with stuff like that where it's that dumb, but other stuff. And then it was like, well, maybe just because someone said it's true doesn't mean it's true. Like, I saw this guy, I think it was a TED Talk, and he was talking about, he came out and he said, did you guys know that 90% of deaths from lung cancer aren't caused by smoking cigarettes? And it's actually much worse for you to do this than smoke cigarettes. And everybody's like, wow, I didn't know that. He's like, yeah, because it's not true, but you believed me.
I mean, if you're getting cyberbullied, use less with the media.
Yeah, or like block someone, because I mean, that's what it's for.
Yeah, and report them.
Yeah.
Especially on Instagram, they're pretty good with like harassment reports and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Try to be yourself.
Spend less time on it, go outside a bit more, talk to people.
Try not to follow the top 10 list. Try to not be a copy of everybody else.
Well, it's like, with media, I feel like just to really turn off your phone or computer or something like that.
I don't know. I feel like you can always keep it on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but there's ways to stay away from that kind of stuff, because I've been bullied before, and just, yeah, maybe some online, but you can always ignore or face them like up front and confront them, because online it's behind a screen, so they're really chicken in real life when you find them. So.
And with trends and stuff like that, try not to like figure out what's the most important thing right now. Like, try to just be yourself, like, because a lot of people focus on trends and then they kind of lose who they are because they just want to fit in.
Well, yeah, because they want to be like everyone else. They think being like everyone else is the most important thing in life. The most important thing is their like one goal in high school.
Yeah.
But it's really isn't. It's just to be yourself and to try and find a group of friends that you fit in mostly because you're yourself.
Trends change all the time, so if you try to keep up with them, you're basically going to be one step behind the crowd.
Like, you think
for your entire life.
You think it makes you something, but it really makes you nothing, because
you're just a copy.
You're just like everyone else.
Just a copy,
You're just a copy of everyone else, and it doesn't like make you stand out. It makes you think that you're fitting in with all these people that you shouldn't be fitting in with if you find that that's not the most important thing to you.
Yeah, like, if media is great in a lot of ways, but once it stops being great and it's affecting you on a either mental or physical level, if that's a thing for you, but if it is affecting you, you just gotta ignore it. I mean, nothing can bother you if you just ignore it. How about you, sir? Do you have a tip for media?
Not really.
Not really?
No.
On media? I think I've said it before. But for the most part, just take it with a grain of salt. And as you get older, at least from my experience, you'll learn to ignore it and see things the way that they are. And yeah, just don't let things get to you. And I think that's the biggest message that I can send to people.
Yeah, I agree. It's more like just choose what you want to see, choose what you want to like believe, but just don't actually take it too seriously, because you never can trust what you see in the media.
For the last part, I just wanted to have a discussion about Your thought, like just open conversation about your thoughts on media, and if you had anything else you wanted to add.
Well, I feel, at least this is my opinion, is like the older generations tend to really push media back and kind of cherry pick the few negative aspects of it to try and delay its inevitable takeover, even though it's pretty much already happened. And I feel as soon as like those generations start to not be as much in power, media will literally like take over society completely. And
like old people like that. It's I think I said this already, but they'll share something on Facebook, and they'll just write out this thing like, "Oh, this is horrible. Why would anybody?" Well, why did you share it then? Like you could have just kept scrolling. It's like they are trying to delay it, but they themselves spread it.
It's like the idea that like playing video games like makes
ruins you,
makes people violent,
mm-hmm.
but there's very little like scientific proof behind it. But the few times that something does happen, they take it and like blow it out of the water. And
yeah, like they'll have like, oh well, here's 1,000 studies that say video games don't cause violence. Here's one that says they do, and everyone's like, thank you very much. It proves my point.
Like
Does learning about media help you in your life?
Yes,
mm-hmm.
definitely. I feel I kind of like formed my personality around media. I think media kind of formed my younger self into what I am now. Just like browsing.
The great man you are today.
Yeah, thank you.
Do you feel more informed, Logan?
Yeah, I feel more informed because it's like but at the same time, it's also if you see like this beautiful piece of artwork that's like, using the Obama Hope poster as an example, like people see that and it's like, oh wow, that's amazing. Someone spent a lot of time on that, but really it was just some guy at like 2 a.m. in his basement, like in Photoshop. And it's the same thing with movies. Like movies are so spectacular, but then when you work on a movie set, then after when you go to the movies, you just see like, oh well, they probably did this take 17 times. It really loses the meaning of it after the 17th time.
Nice. Any other thoughts on media?
It's like someone did a study, I watched a video about it, and it was like they took a room full of like 100 females and showed them pictures of guys and also showed their job underneath them. And it was like statistically shown that if the guys had a better job, people just found them more attractive. Like there's one guy that got no votes, and then all of a sudden he was a CEO in a big company, and then he got 75% of the votes from the girls.
Like I see.
I feel like last year's election was like the biggest example of the two like most extreme groups in America, even like around the world in most Western countries. The feminists that are super extremist feminists and push it really far, mm-hmm. and the super extremist sexists that push it really far.
Yeah, like as someone looking out from in, you can like the way I looked at it, neither of the options were very good. But it's like there were just people that were fanatical about both, and it's like if one of them did something wrong, it's like no. You don't understand. They didn't mean it like that.
Ooh, Trump is a sexist hick that doesn't know how to run a country, and oh look, Hillary is a feminist person who's dumb and doesn't know how to run a country.
Something that bugged me is a lot of people in Canada getting all up about it. It's like all the time on Facebook especially, like I'd see, because my family, not my personal family, but my extended family, they're pretty like right wing like that, and it's like you don't really, if you want to vote conservative, that's fine, but don't meddle in the American politics like that, because it doesn't really affect you. It does. I'm not saying it doesn't affect you at all, because there's stuff like NAFTA and that will affect Canada, but they're like sharing things on Facebook like, oh, crooked Hillary, go to prison, and then they're sharing other things like, oh, the orange man, don't let the orange man win. It's like, just stay out of it. This doesn't concern you. Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, there are real problems like Indigenous rights. Donald Trump called some senator or something that claimed to be a certain amount of percentage Native, he called her Pocahontas. Like, stuff like that's a problem. I think, especially in Canada, because that's Indigenous rights. I think that's something we need to focus on. I don't agree with attack ads like that. I think if you want to make an ad saying, well, this is what I plan to do and this is what my my rival wants to do, that's fine. But when you go and it's like, well, at least he has nice hair. Like, if he's bald or he has a full head of hair, that doesn't affect his government.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it definitely affects his charisma, and that's a really big factor now in politics. I kind of, the 2016 election was like the only election I paid attention to, because it was so big in the media. Like, almost every day there was something talking about Trump or something talking about Hillary, and especially a example here in Canada is when Trudeau got elected, there's the controversy that he elbowed another politician, and I feel the media really blew it up, way out of proportion compared to how small of an issue it really was.
I remember ever since I was really little, it was always something like, because my parents have always voted, and it was always something that I loved to like go, because where they voted, it was just the church that's 2 blocks away. I always loved to go with them and like go into the church, and they'd like let me come back with them, and I could see what they were gonna fill out and stuff, and then I could, well, the next few, like whenever, like, did you win? Because that's what it was to me, like. Mm-hmm. And then in the most recent election, I tried to like provide them with facts, because they're not political people, but they still, and I agree with this, you need to vote. It's something you need to do, and they've always voted, but they're not very political people. They're just like working class, normal people, and which the majority of Canadians are. And I provided them with like facts from both sides, and they picked who they wanted to vote for based off that. So do you guys think that media outlets encourage people to be less unique?
Yes and no.
I think
no.
A lot of the big fashion ones do encourage people to follow the trends because they need to buy like the best brands or something, or this celebrity is wearing
or like makeup and things like that.
Yeah.
And like how your body's supposed to look, but it also does encourage creativity, because like a lot of people, like for example like artists, like they can get their work out and they can have people looking at their work, whereas they might not.
Well, especially in like projects too, right?
Yeah.
You want to make that project stand out more than anyone else's to get a better grade than everyone else. But yeah, it does and it doesn't at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like in the middle.
Yeah.
It depends what sources you're looking at.
Yeah, and it also like it helps you be more creative and stuff like that, but it also causes a lot of things like people like will generally be like a lot more selfish and things like that, and you kind of just care about yourself.
Yeah.
But like that's what media has pretty much done in technology, but so you go and you talk to all these people online, but there are people like in real life who would actually help you and would actually like help you get better, rather than you just like ranting to someone online, but you can actually have someone to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
Who cares? Like that's like with the sleep deprivation thing, and like how it causes that, and like I know personally that like I started doing like I don't have my phone in my room at night, and like I turned it off entirely and whatever, and I sleep way better.
Well, yeah, because people that have their phones in their rooms, they hear that little notification, and it's like
not even that, but just like the radiation from it, like.
Well.
Yeah. If it's closer than 5 millimeters, then it's 3 times as much as the federal government recommends.
Yeah.
Okay, but some people use that for an alarm clock.
Yeah, but it's not 5 millimeters.
Buy a clock. That's what they're for.
My clock doesn't have an alarm. Okay, we're way off topic. Yeah, we're off topic.
No, that's okay. You can go very off topic.
Way off topic, like
alarm clocks.
But yeah, like I find that if they know if it's okay, if their electronics or device or whatever is somewhere near close by, then they're gonna want to keep checking it and want to know what's the newest trend and why, like all these different things.
yeah, so they can like keep up so they don't miss anything.
Yeah.
But also like along with the good thing, like you have a lot of access to things that you wouldn't have access to before, like good information, not just bad information. Like there's a lot of like really good like motivational speakers and stuff you can find on YouTube, and just people that can like inspire other people, so that's also good.
Well, yeah, that's true, to be more creative and
Yeah.
like make yourself stand out.
But there's also a lot of like the bad news of the news sites that just focus on everything terrible
Yeah.
that's happening in the world.
Yeah.
So I think when you look at media and specifically news and information that you're getting on the media, you really need to like question what you're seeing and filter what you need.
I think
Like-
I think you need to focus more on the good news and the bad news that it's giving you.
Like
so
if you
that
know a website or like something that has a lot of bad news, then just
delete it.
Yeah. Or if there's something like, or if there's like a celebrity or something and they just make you angry or whatever, or you're constantly annoyed by it, like just take it out of your life because you don't need it.
Well, like if you keep getting on the bad news and it keeps getting you mad, then if you delete the app or whatever it is, then they won't have that much more money to keep producing that thing, which will get more students or people angry and cause like the world to go. You know,
a lot of people, even though they hate stuff, like they say, "Oh, reality TV and stuff like that is so bad," they still buy into it, and you're just feeding the industry.
Yeah, because
like,
they think it's funny to watch
if you
it.
stop like consuming that, then
it's just gonna stop.
Because you're just giving them the power. Like,
well, yeah, you're not giving them any more money. You're not giving them any more views, so it's not gonna get any more popular, and it won't go out more.
Yeah.
So like, stop the source and like cut it from its roots.
Yeah.
Did you get anything from learning about media?
Probably you realize like kind of the tricks that people use to like buy you in and all that, and how you need to question it.
Yeah.
Like I'd have to say, since we started like taking media this year, like I'm a lot more
in tune with what.
Yeah. Like I realize like when I watch stuff, I'm like I
They're
question
just-
it, and I'm like, why are they doing this? And like.
Yeah, it's like, well, why did they use that music there? Why did they use that colors in this specific situation?
And like, why do they keep like using this kind of news and stuff like that?
Yeah, it makes you question a lot though.
Yeah.
Like,
I think it definitely helps with like critical thinking,
well, yeah.
which is important in the age of cell phones where you can Google anything and it comes up right there.
Yeah. And you don't really think about it. You just go, oh yeah, that's how it works. But you need to think about why is it like that.
Yeah. And it draws you in more into the curiosity of what could happen if this was a different music, or if this was a different gender or genre or whatever you're watching.
And like, I have to say, oh man, what was I gonna say? I'm trying to remember.
What do you have to say?
What were we just talking about? We were talking about
the music.
Oh yeah.
And stuff.
Okay. Like a lot of the times, like people will just say like, oh yeah, this is how society works, and just accept that. But it makes you think, well, why is it like this? And
what
you
could
look behind, and like how can you change that? And what is there, like, is it like what is there wrong with it? But what is there that's right with it?
Especially like studying the history of media and seeing how like media was used to create like gigantic social movements.
Yeah.
It's like when people tell you like, oh, this is how society always was and always will be. It's like, well, maybe I could do something.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to
be like that. Yeah.
But like,
and sometimes people,
go ahead.
And sometimes people will be like, oh well, you can't really like change anything, and this is just how it is. But
you need to stand up.
And you can't.
you don't stop thinking that your voice isn't most
Like some
important.
artists think you just live in like your little town or whatever, and like you can't make a difference, and that there's no one else who feels the same way. But like media gives you the ability to see that there's other people who feel the same way.
Well, how do you think most of the great leaders in this world do it? They stand out and they make their voice be heard. They make everyone else think that their thoughts and what they think is right, and it sometimes is and sometimes isn't.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So media kind of gives you that chance to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And kind of make a difference in your own way.
Yeah, and make you stand out for who
No
you
matter
really
how
are.
you do it.
No matter how
Where
do
you
it.
come from or who you are. Media gives you a chance to
To stand out.
be yourself.
I'm sorry.
Don't say that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you guys would like to elaborate on?
I don't know.
Why are you looking at me?
Because you usually start the conversation and then we keep going.
It helps bring awareness to causes. I don't know. I think we already were kind of talking about
Do you
that.
think that it can bring awareness to bad causes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can.
I think for sure if somebody was like kind of interested in a really bad cause and they were like, oh well maybe I shouldn't, like nobody else thinks it, maybe it's actually wrong, and then they see tons of websites about it, then they'll be like more into that cause.
They're gonna think that that's actually what it is.
And I think also if you're into a good cause and then you see lots of people supporting the bad cause, maybe you'll think like, well maybe I'm on the wrong side,
of
maybe
the
it's
team,
pointless to support my cause.
because no one else is on my side.
But
it's tough. It's really good, but it's also really bad.
Yeah, and it's hard to start making your opinion matter in the beginning, but then when you start getting out there more and like start believing in yourself more, it pushes you and to know that you're on the right side.
Yeah, media is a tool, right? It matters how you use it.
And if you use it the wrong way,
Because
then
if you think about
you hurt
it,
yourself.
like we created technology and all that to make our lives more simple, but it's like
it's making it worse.
It's making it more complicated.
Yeah. Which is kind of a pain.
And
but
also,
yeah.
and also easier at the same time.
Yeah, like
media is like
it's
everything
hard.
else, right? You have to take the good with the bad.
Yeah.
You gotta look on the bright side of life. You gotta look on the bright side of media. Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Just be yourself. Stand out.
And think critically about what you're watching and
Don't
consuming.
just- and keep asking questions.
Don't just
like,
take it for what it is.
Yeah. Like, think about what it could be without looking at what it originally is. So, like, if you think...
Look at it from what is it?
Different perspective.
Non-subjective viewpoint.
Non-subjective
Non-objective?
viewpoint.
I thought it was subjective.
No, it's non-objective, isn't it?
Like, subjective is when you take everything for... I don't know. Maybe it's objective.
Maybe
Whatever.
just look at it from an unbiased point of view.
Yeah, exactly.
Once you understand media, you can learn to ignore it better and understand it better. Like, once you realize, like, say an ad, for example, for like a skimpy underwear, and it's got like this totally shredded man. It's totally unrealistic, because it is unrealistic. It's all photoshopped. And once you realize that the world we're in is all unrealistic boundaries trying to be set for us, and there's like a fake ideal image, once you realize, you can just be as free as a bird.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Nope. It's good.
Is there anything else you want to talk about in media?
Everybody should know.
Keep taking all the good stuff. I have nothing.
Think of something else.
What have you gotten out of media?
I don't know, there's a lot of sexism in media, I guess. There's like all the female ads like get attractive women that most people can never be like, and then they like make them seem so beautiful with this product, and then other girls go and buy that product, even though it's impossible to be like that because of Photoshop and editing and stuff. I think media can be a pretty terrible yet good place depending on where you go. Like, for example, I don't know, Instagram, everybody comments on your photos, how nice you are and stuff. But if you go on something like Twitter and state your opinions, everybody gets mad at you and tries to fight you.
They call you pretty mean names too.
If you guys see something in the media, like a commercial, do you understand it better now? Do you see things that are like subliminal kinda that you didn't notice before?
I'd say definitely. I think at least I feel like it's opened my eyes to a lot of different aspects of media that I didn't know of before.
Yeah, me too. I didn't know how to Photoshop of kind of stuff, and then when I joined this class, I thought of media would have like YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. I never really thought of it as Photoshop, and then I actually did like it that was Photoshop. So it's more of a creative thing,
like what's going on around them. So
this class, I think, has taught me a lot of how to use it and the tools. Mainly Photoshop. I've learned a lot about like how to create media, but how to interpret media, not really. My views haven't really changed. Personally, I just kind of try to not take anything too seriously, take everything with a grain of salt. I don't really use too much media. I don't really go on Snapchat or Instagram or, Facebook, so I don't feel like I'm constantly being judged, and that's a personal decision that I've made, so.
Yeah, I have just a couple of social media platforms, but a lot of the people on there, like, I only let certain people follow me, and, like, that helps. But in media class, we watched documentaries on how to, like, interpret media, and that has helped. What you see isn't always real. There's a lot of photoshopping that even if you don't even notice it's there, it's there. And then even Photoshop has been like, oh, this minor tweak makes a major difference. Like, you actually get to see what's going on behind the scenes almost, which is nice. A lot of magazine companies or cover photo shoots, or clothing ads. Like, you see the models on the runway, and then you see the models in the magazine, and you're like, those look like two different people.
Yeah, a lot of it is to do with cosmetics, but I can't really think of anything else other than cosmetics. I think that's the biggest one. Constantly changing body shape and your face, and I think Dove, the soap company, does a really good job of highlighting what other companies do, creating
real life images of what actual people look like.
All the campaigns that they've run against all the photoshopping and editing in media to try to create this perfect image for both men and women, and it's not really fair. And they do a really good job of showing that.
Yeah, and there's a few clothing company brands that are now doing that. Like, I know Aerie for American Eagle is starting to do that, where it's just the picture you see is literally the picture that the person took. There's no retouching or anything, which also helps people get better self-esteem and be like, that's what that person looks like, so I could look like that too. My body or how I look doesn't matter.
So with retouching like that, do you think that's taking in the generation of children, mostly girls, seeing that, and it's kind of crushing their self-esteem when they go into high school and adulthood?
Yeah, personally, my sister, again, she looks at herself all the time and she's like, well, I don't look like this and my friends look like that and I need to look like that. And then she'll be on Instagram and she'll be like, well, this girl looks like this and I need to work out more and I need to lose weight. And I'm like, well, your body's still changing and growing. You can't actually do anything with it until you're in the final stages. But still, you don't need makeup. You don't need anything. Your body and the way you look is just fine.
Yeah, and I think as you mature, you'll realize that a lot more. You'll stop, drawing attention to all these aspects of media that kind of create this fake image, and you just really get to enjoy what you want to, and you get to see yourself how you want to. If you can too, that's, you know, part of the self-esteem thing is you need to learn to respect who you are and yourself and your body and your image, and just kind of ignore media.
Yeah.
To a point.
Media is, it's a strange thing because it affects our lives so greatly, and only a few people make those choices for the rest of the world. Like the higher ups, the 1%, they're the ones making the choices for the rest of the 99%. So if you're smart, you can learn to adapt and find your own place in the world and choose your own way to consume the media that's being made for the rest of the world.
A lot like what happens in wars is like history is written by the victors, and the people that get the most attention and the fastest pretty much win at media in general. It's just
The who?
The fastest.
I thought you said fascists.
the fascists are taking over the internet then.
I was gonna say I haven't seen that.
Thanks, guys.